کنفرانس مطبوعاتی نماینده آمریکا در سازمان ملل. نیکی هیلی: رژیم ایران تهدیدی برای صلح و امنیت همه جهان است. ما قصد نداریم دست روی دست بگذاریم. جنگ علیه تجاوزات رژیم ایران جنگ کل جهان است. همکاری بین المللی برای شکست دادن این تهدید ضروری است. توافق اتمی با رژیم ایران هیچ تأثیری بر میانه‌رو کردن این رژیم نداشته است. به ندرت می شود منازعه یا گروهی تروریستی در خاورمیانه یافت که رد پای رژیم ایران در آن نباشد. کنفرانس مطبوعاتی در واشنگتن، مقر وزارت دفاع آمریکا، پنتاگون، 23 آذر 1396.
This is really important that you be here today because we have a story to tell. And the story is a very important one. And it's not just important for the United States, it's important for the entire international community. As President Trump announced on October 13th, the United States is taking a new approach to Iran by focusing on all of the regime's destabilizing behavior. That means we are not just focused on the nuclear program. We're also taking a hard look at Iran's ballistic missile program, its arms exports, and its support for terrorists, proxy fighters, and dictators. Our new strategy was prompted by the undeniable fact that the Iranian regime's behavior is growing worse. The nuclear deal has done nothing to moderate the regime's conduct in other areas. Aid from Iran's Revolutionary Guard to dangerous militias and terror groups is increasing. Its ballistic missiles and advanced weapons are turning up in war zones across the region. It's hard to find a conflict or a terrorist group in the Middle East that does not have Iran's fingerprints all over it. 4 days ago, Iranian Foreign Minister Zarif wrote an op-ed assuring the world that Iran has been misunderstood. He wrote, quote, "Iran's military capabilities comply with international law and are entirely defensive." Instead of stoking violence, Zarif promised that Iran and its partners, quote, "labor to put out fires while the arsonists in our region grow more unhinged." But the United Nations just released a new report that tells the opposite story. It tells the story of Iran as the arsonist. The report shows the Tehran regime not putting out fires, but fanning the flames of conflict in the region. This was Secretary General's fourth report detailing Iranian compliance or non-compliance with UN Resolution 2231. That resolution places specific prohibitions on Iranian conduct. In its strongest language yet, the Secretary General's report describes violation after violation of weapons transfers and ballistic missile activity. The United States welcomes this report, as should every nation concerned about Iranian expansion. We are grateful for the depth of the UN's inspection and analysis. Most telling, the report makes a convincing case that Iran is illegally providing the Houthi militants in Yemen with dangerous weapons. The report provides devastating evidence of missiles, conventional arms, and explosive boats of Iranian origin used by the rebels in Yemen, all of which violate UN resolutions. The United States and our partners went to great lengths to support the UN investigations into Iranian violations by declassifying evidence so that the world could better be informed of the extent of Iran's malign activities. As you know, we do not often declassify this type of military equipment recovered from these attacks. But today, we are taking an extraordinary step of presenting it here in an open setting. We did this for a single urgent purpose. Because the Iranian regime cannot be allowed to engage in its lawless behavior any longer. International peace and security depends on us working together against the Iranian regime's hostile actions. The fight against Iranian aggression is the world's fight. The United States is acting today in the spirit of transparency and international cooperation that is necessary to defeat this threat. In this warehouse is concrete evidence of illegal Iranian weapons proliferation gathered from direct military attacks on our partners in the region. Behind me is an example of one of these attacks. These are the recovered pieces of a missile fired by Houthi militants from Yemen into Saudi Arabia. The missile's intended target was the civilian airport in Riyadh, through which tens of thousands of passengers travel each day. I repeat, the missile was used to attack an international civilian airport in a G20 country. Just imagine if this missile had been launched at Dulles Airport or JFK, or the airports in Paris, London, or Berlin. That's what we're talking about here. That's what Iran is actively supporting. What is most revealing about this missile is what's not here. This is a short-range ballistic missile. It is missing the large stabilizer fins that are typically present on these kinds of missiles. The Iranian Guillaume missile is the only known short-range ballistic missile in the world that lacks such stabilizer fins and includes 9 valves that you will see running along the length of the missile. Those valves are essentially Iranian missile fingerprints. On your walkthrough, you will also see missile debris stamped with the logo of Shahid Bagheri Industries, an Iranian manufacturer. Those are just 2 of the many pieces of evidence that tell us of this missile's Iranian origins. In this warehouse, there is also material from an anti-tank guided missile. Such missiles have a range of over 2 miles and can destroy tanks and even buildings. You will see material from an unmanned aerial vehicle, also known as a kamikaze drone, that can take out radar sites. You will see material from the Shark 33 explosive boat. These are boats with a warhead inside them that explodes on impact. They can blow 6 feet wide holes in the hulls of ships. All of these weapons include parts made in Iran, some by Iran's government-run defense industry. All are proof that Iran is defying the international community, and not just one time. This evidence demonstrates a pattern of behavior in which Iran sows conflict and extremism in direct violation of UN Security Council resolutions. This evidence is part of what has led the U.S. intelligence community to conclude unequivocally that these weapons were supplied by the Iranian regime. Iran is determined to undermine the international consensus against its conduct. We must speak with one voice in exposing the regime for what it is, a threat to the peace and security of the entire world. We call on all nations to join us in a united front resisting this global threat. We have said multiple times that this is not just about the nuclear program, this is about everything else they're doing, because Iran believes that they have been given a pass. It is incumbent on the international community to show not only are they not being given a pass, but all of these actions have to stop and stop immediately, and we'll continue to do that. Where do we go from here? Well, I think the president made the first start by decertifying the Iran deal basically with Congress so that Congress can start looking at these other things that Iran is doing, whether it's ballistic missile strikes, whether it's export of arms or related material to be used, whether it's support of terrorists, any sort of action that destabilizes the region. That's all against U.S. United Security Council resolutions, and so we want to make sure that we're holding them accountable. Where do we go from here? You will see an effort by not only all agencies within this administration, but within the international community that is going to come together and find ways to stop Iran from what they're doing. And yes, we have already started to talk to our partners in the Security Council. That will just be one avenue of what we do. The NSC is pulling together all types of other reactions that we will have. We're working with the State Department, we're working with the Department of Defense, but you will see forthcoming information from the Security Council. And so you will continue to see us move forward. The international community is concerned. This was the strongest Secretary General's report that we have seen in reference to the violations by Iran, and we don't intend to let that go.
When you gather up all the evidence here, does this make you believe that it is time to exit the nuclear deal for good?
In terms of the nuclear deal, you know, we have said everything doesn't have to be tied to the nuclear deal, but it does have to be tied to the Security Council resolutions. This is blatant violation of what they are not supposed to be doing. And what we are saying is everybody has tiptoed around Iran in fear of them getting out of the nuclear deal, and they are allowing missiles like this to be fired over to innocent civilians and hurt. And that is what has to stop. But the nuclear deal is not something that we're focused on now. It's focusing on the threat that Iran is posing as we know it.